Hello everyone, my name is Cortex, and in today's video we're going through the details of what you should be looking for in a player as a recruiter, and also what you can do as a player to make your account more attractive to recruiters. So in today's video, I'll be explaining a very requested topic, being what recruiters should be looking for in players, and also what players can do to make their accounts more attractive to recruiters. So the first obvious three that we'll be looking at here are the power, KP, and dead troops. Obviously, these are very basic stats. These stats paint the basic picture of an account. It's what most people use to make their minds up on if someone is a farmer or a fighter. What you want to look for in a player when looking at these three stats is someone with a good amount of KP and dead troops relative to their power. For example, most people would consider a 50 mil power player with 2 billion KP and 10 million deads pretty good, right? Whereas if that player was 100 million power, it wouldn't be very impressive at all. In fact, most people would probably call a player a farmer. Obviously, that's relative to their account age and everything else, but usually anyway. So that gives you a basic idea of what to look for in a player, but it is much more complicated than that. Now, one of the things you can use to identify if an account is good or not is looking at their governor ID. Now, why their governor ID? You can use their governor ID to be able to tell how old their account is, and by that you can be able to tell if they have good stats or not for their account age. For example, what you do is you just zoom out and you find, well, I'm just gonna pick a random kingdom here, let's say 2802. Then you go into the kingdom and you start looking at the native accounts and check their governor IDs. For example, as you can see in this kingdom, it seems like the native ID is around, yeah, around 129 million. So you should be able to then tell how old that account is. So let's see. That means that someone with 129 million account ID probably is around 400 days old. And with that information, you can decide for yourself whether you think that's good or not for the account age. Now, moving on to the next important thing in terms of recruiting, at least today, is do they invest in KVK tech? KVK tech is today a very, very big part of the game and will affect how well they will be able to perform in the KVK, how well their rallies will perform, how well their garrisons will perform, how well they will do in the field, etc., etc. So you want to make sure at least that your bigger power players, meaning I would say like 80, 90, 100 mil plus, are investing at least a decent amount like pop-ups and Mono Warfare into KVK tech. Now you may be wondering, how do you actually find out if they're investing in KVK tech or not? Well, at least the way we do it is that we send the migration form out that everyone that's migrating to us has to fill. And in there we have questions like, do you buy KVK tech? And if so, how much? We have options like, are you completely free to play? Do you buy only pop-ups? Do you buy pop-ups and Mountain Warfare? Do you buy pop-ups, Mountain Warfare, and some dailies? Do you buy everything, etc.? So that's a very good way to be able to gauge whether or not you have people willing to invest in KVK tech, and you can also then be able to see if you want to bring someone with a certain power burden depending on the amount they're planning to invest into KVK tech. Now the next thing you'd like to know about your migrants is, do they have good commanders? Do they have rally and garrison pairs? And also that ties into, do they invest into KVK tech? Because obviously you'd want your garrison and rally leads to be at least somewhat invested into KVK tech. And you can collect all this info very easily using a Google form, at least that's what we do in 2605. And we use a migration Discord server, and we have everything set up so that it's very easy to go through and fill out the form, and then we have all the info we need from our migrants. If you're curious about how exactly we do it, you can check out burnruz.com and it will take you to our migration Discord. Now you also want to make sure that the migrants you're bringing have good equipment, especially if they're a rally or a garrison lead. You want to make sure that they have the best stuff available, at least close to, so that you won't recruit subpar rally or garrison leads into your kingdom, because that will hurt your kingdom very, very badly. You also want to maybe have a look at their armaments, see if they're up to date. You also want to make sure that whoever you are bringing are still a performing player. You don't know if they're still active, or if they've dropped off a bit, or if they've stopped spending, or whatever it may be. They could have very good stats, and they could, not be the same player they used to be anymore. So you want to, if you can, ask them for their previous KVK stats from their previous kingdoms, or even contact their kingdoms to check if they have their previous KVK stats or current KVK stats, to make sure that they're still a performing player and that their stats are not fake. At this point, I've been recruiting for some of the biggest kingdoms and alliances in the game for almost 3 years, so I think I've heard and seen pretty much everything there is, from excuses to I've been in a bad kingdom, etc., etc., right? So you want to watch out for people that make a lot of excuses. A common one is I've been in a farming kingdom. I haven't had the chance to get fights. Now, trust me, if you want to get a fight, you can get a fight. Of course, this is not 100% true. There are instances, I suppose, where you literally can't get a fight. But in most cases, especially if it's an account with lower stats, I'd say usually it's probably not true and that it is an excuse. So you definitely want to try to watch out for people that are making up a bunch of excuses about their stats, about why they're not active enough, etc. You don't want players like this. Something else to watch out for is people asking constantly what the bare minimums are for their power bracket in the kingdom. Of course, you want to have a bare minimum to be able to kick out dead weights from the kingdom, etc. But you want to try to avoid people constantly asking for the minimums for the KVK and for their power, etc., etc. Because that means that most likely those people will just hit their minimums and then stop fighting. You definitely want to avoid these types of players. Another big red flag is people being tagless when applying or having negative titles, etc. You want to make sure that the people you're recruiting are not rogues in their current kingdom. You want to check their profile, you want to check that they are in an alliance. If not, you need to ask the kingdom leadership that they're currently in, is there a story about this player? If they have a negative title, it's most likely for a bad reason. I've made this mistake myself in the past, Maximum Thunder. So yeah, you definitely want to watch out for rogues, as they can ruin your kingdom for a very, very long time and be super, super annoying to your whole player base. Now moving on to what you can do as a player to be more attractive to recruiters like myself or any other kingdoms that you may want to apply to be able to get accepted easier. You want to make sure that you keep improving on your stats. You want to make sure you fight your hardest every single KVK. Even though it's lost, even though whatever it may be, you want to fight your hardest every single KVK, regardless of what happens. That's what good kingdoms want. They want players that fight regardless of the circumstances and fight all the time. You want to be super active, you want to fight your hardest at all times. When talking to a recruiter, you want to be very communicative, very transparent, but do not be annoying. What I mean by annoying is do not keep spamming them, do not keep saying, Am I accepted? Am I accepted? If they want you in the kingdom, you will hear from them eventually. So just be patient and just wait. Answer all the questions they may have for you. Of course, if you have any questions about the kingdom or whatever, of course, you need to ask those questions, but do not spam them. Am I accepted? Am I accepted every other hour or every other day? Give them some time to accept. They might have a lot of applicants and all that kind of stuff. So you want to give them time to be able to see what their best choices are. Now, you need to be 100% transparent about everything you do and everything you say for a recruiter, because they will find out eventually. And it's much better if you tell them than if they find out from someone else after you migrated into the kingdom that you were a rogue or whatever it may be. You want to be 100% transparent with the kingdom you're going to, about your intentions, about your past, about everything. If the kingdom you're going to has an application process like a forum or a kingdom Discord, etc., make sure you read everything they have to write and have to say very thoroughly to make sure that your application is correct and that you don't give the recruiters extra headache. That might help you get accepted easier. So you want to make sure that you do everything properly, you want to make sure you fill the potential form in correctly with the correct formats, etc. All these things can help you get accepted easier. Anyway, that's all I had for today's video. I really hope it was informative and that it can help some recruiters and players to be able to make better choices when it comes to recruiting players or joining kingdoms. Now, if you're interested in our project, you can head over to burnruz.com or reach out to Shumi or me through in-game or Discord DMs. We have a very few spots left, so if you're interested, feel free to reach out, but you need to be a very high quality player to be able to get those last spots. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you all. Bye bye.